Captain Rylan Kane adjusted the controls of his hovercraft as it descended through the thick, amber clouds of Urindor 9. The planet was unlike anything he had ever seen in the Galactic Survey reports. It was raw, alive, and strangely quiet. The clouds shimmered with faint streaks of green and purple, giving the impression that the atmosphere itself was pulsing with energy. Kane had been to hundreds of planets before, but there was something in the way Urindor 9 moved, in the way the ground seemed to breathe under the hovercraft's anti-grav engines, that made him feel both thrilled and uneasy. The mission was straightforward. Survey the planet for rare minerals that could help fuel Earth's rapidly growing energy demands. He wasn't expecting an adventure. He wasn't expecting danger. But deep down, Kane knew the universe rarely allowed humans to leave their comfort zones without consequence. As the hovercraft touched down on a plateau of glassy rock, Kane stepped out, scanning the horizon. The landscape stretched endlessly, with jagged mountains in the distance and forests of plants glowing faintly in bioluminescent light. Strange vines, translucent and shimmering like liquid crystal, crept along the rock faces. Every step he took sent a soft hum through the ground. It was beautiful, eerie, and completely alien. "All right, Kane," he muttered to himself, checking his scanner. "Let's see what you've got for me." The readings on his scanner jumped sporadically, hinting at concentrations of a rare crystalline element. He bent down to inspect a cluster, but before he could even get a proper sample, a sudden shimmer in the air caught his eye. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a reflection from the crystals. But the shimmer solidified into a figure. She appeared without warning. A woman, taller than any human, moved with an effortless grace that made Kane instinctively step back. Her skin glowed faintly under the dim light of the planet's strange sun, and her hair flowed like liquid silver around her shoulders. Her eyes, large and luminous, held centuries of wisdom, or perhaps it was knowledge that spanned far beyond human lifetimes. Kane's mouth went dry, and for a brief moment, all the careful words he had planned for any first contact scenario vanished. Who are you?" Kane asked, his voice steady despite the rapid thumping of his heart. "I am Ilara," she said softly, her voice like music. "I have been waiting for someone like you." "You mean you live here?" Something about this place, about her presence, felt unnatural yet deliberate. "Listen," he said, keeping his tone calm. "I'm on a mission. I have to leave after I collect my samples. I don't mean any harm, I just want to do my job. I can leave whenever I want." Something alive and far more intelligent than he could imagine. "All right," he muttered, trying to keep control. "Let's say I'm stuck. Why are you keeping me here?" "I'm just a surveyor, I'm not." "Or perhaps guiding you. Time is different here and so is space. You will learn more than you expect if you stay." The care in her eyes, the way she seemed to understand his thoughts before he spoke, was unsettling and compelling at the same time. "I need to get my samples," Kane said finally, trying to shift the focus. "I can't just wander aimlessly." "It may be difficult, but it is necessary." Kane bent down and carefully chipped a few fragments, placing them in a containment pod. Hours passed, and Kane found himself growing more aware of Ilara's presence. She didn't follow him constantly, but he could feel her eyes on him, like warmth brushing against his back. The atmosphere of Urindor 9 seemed to respond to her, to his movements, to the rhythm of his heartbeat. The wind carried voices that weren't quite voices, and the lights flickered as if in time with his thoughts. Kane began to feel that the planet itself was alive, and Ilara was its heart. By nightfall, he was exhausted but captivated. He sat near a cluster of glowing plants, staring at the sky that rippled with unfamiliar constellations. Ilara approached quietly, sitting across from him without a word. Kane noticed the faint glow surrounding her form, a soft luminescence that didn't disturb the night but enhanced its beauty. "You are different from what I expected," she said quietly. "You do not panic. You do not try to escape immediately. Most would. And I like to understand things before I react. I have watched many civilizations rise and fall. Most destroy themselves out of pride, fear, or greed. But humans have something rare. You may not see it yet, but you have the ability to surprise the universe." And yet something in her words struck a chord deep within him. For the first time, he felt both insignificant and extraordinarily important at the same time. He leaned back, staring at the glowing horizon. "So, you're not holding me captive, you're testing me. You are here because you matter more than you know." The night stretched on, and the glowing plants around him cast long, dancing shadows. Kane felt the hum of energy beneath his feet, the quiet pulse of the planet, and the steady presence of Elara beside him. Somewhere deep inside, a seed of curiosity had been planted, one that could grow into something far greater than he had ever imagined. For the first time, he realized that this strange, immortal woman had not trapped him. She had given him a chance to see what humans were capable of. And that realization both thrilled and terrified him. As Kane drifted into a restless sleep under the alien sky, he knew one thing for certain. Nothing on Earth had prepared him for what lay ahead. Erendor 9 and Elara were changing him. The story of humanity was about to be rewritten, one step, one discovery, and one daring act at a time. Rylan Kane woke to the soft hum of the planet beneath him. The glow of Erendor 9 plants bathed the landscape in gentle shades of green and violet. The air smelled faintly metallic, mixed with the crisp scent of alien flora. He sat up and rubbed his eyes, the events of the previous day replaying in his mind. An immortal alien woman had stopped him from leaving the planet, had watched him as he collected his minerals, and had spoken words that made him question everything he thought he knew about humans and the universe. He stretched and looked around. The hovercraft sat a few meters away, perfectly intact but strangely silent. Its engines emitted no sound, and the usual hum of energy that accompanied the ship's systems seemed muted. Kane frowned, instinctively running diagnostics. Every system was fully operational. There was no obvious reason the hovercraft shouldn't function. And yet when he tried to start it, the engines faltered, sputtering weakly before cutting off entirely. Kane stepped back, frustration rising. "Great," he muttered. "Just my luck." She had been observing him again, silent as a shadow. "I can't just sit here forever," Kane said. "I have responsibilities, I have a mission." "And you will have them. But understanding requires patience and perspective, two qualities humans sometimes forget to cultivate." And yet here he was, under the watchful eyes of someone who had seen centuries unfold, held back by forces he could barely comprehend. Determined, he decided to explore the planet further, hoping to distract himself and maybe discover a weakness or escape route. He packed a small bag with basic equipment, sample containers, and his scanner and began walking along the plateau, observing the bioluminescent forests below. The ground pulsed faintly beneath his boots, almost like a heartbeat, and Kane could feel the subtle vibrations in his chest. The planet was alive, that much was certain. Hours passed. Kane mapped the terrain, collected samples, and tested energy readings. Nothing he found explained why the hovercraft had failed or why the planet seemed to resist his attempts to leave. Every time he tried to ascend a hill or cross a gorge that might give him a better vantage point, subtle obstacles arose, rocks that shifted underfoot, gusts of wind that pushed him back, and faint tremors that threw off his balance. It was as if the planet itself were nudging him, guiding him, or perhaps testing him. By evening, Kane was exhausted. He stopped near a pool of liquid that shimmered with a rainbow of colors, reflecting the strange constellations above. As he knelt to take a sample, he felt a presence behind him. "You are persistent," Elara said softly. Kane didn't turn around. "I don't like being guided," he said, his voice edged with irritation. "I like being free to make my own choices." Most did not survive because they underestimated themselves or their own curiosity or the consequences of their actions. You, humans, have a strength that surprises even me. You are fragile, yes, but in ways that make your victories meaningful. Why now? The planet itself had been part of the test, responding to him in ways he barely understood. "I've faced worse," he said quietly. "I can handle more than you think, even when the odds seem insurmountable." Over the next several days, Kane continued his exploration, always aware of Elara's presence. Sometimes she walked beside him silently, other times she watched from a distance. The planet's energy seemed to flow through her, and Kane could feel its subtle influence on him. Every challenge he faced, shifting terrain, strange weather patterns, sudden energy surges, tested not just his physical skill but his patience, his ingenuity, and his understanding of cause and effect. He began to notice patterns. Certain crystals emitted energy that could stabilize parts of the terrain. Certain plants, when touched, reacted with the environment in ways that could be harnessed to create temporary paths or bridges. Kane realized that Erendor 9 was not simply blocking him. It was teaching him, guiding him to use his human creativity and problem-solving skills. One evening, Kane set up camp near a cliff that overlooked a valley of glowing flora. He lit a small heat lamp and sat quietly, reviewing the samples he had collected. Alara approached, her steps silent on the soft ground. "You are learning," she said. "I'm surviving," Kane replied, not looking up. "I'm figuring this out on my own. Even when I guide you subtly, you find new ways to solve problems. That is human ingenuity. That is why you are important. You survive because you think, because you adapt, because you do not give up. You carry a spark that could light the universe or destroy it." He had always believed humans were clever, resourceful, and brave, but to hear it from someone who had witnessed countless species over centuries made him realize the truth. Humans were extraordinary, even if they did not always realize it themselves. Days turned into weeks, and Kane's understanding deepened. He learned to navigate the planet's subtle dangers, to anticipate energy surges, and to use the environment to his advantage. He experimented with new tools, building small devices from the crystals and flora he collected. Each success bolstered his confidence, proving that human creativity could thrive even under impossible conditions. Ilara watched him silently, her expression a mixture of pride and curiosity. She said little, only intervening when Kane's life was in real danger or when the planet's subtle challenges became too great. Slowly, Kane began to see that she was not an obstacle but a guide, shaping his understanding of the universe and of human potential. One night, as Kane studied a crystalline formation, he noticed something extraordinary. The crystals emitted a faint pulse in response to his touch, almost like a heartbeat. He realized that the planet was not only alive, it was aware, and that awareness was linked somehow to Ilara. She had not trapped him. She had created a controlled environment in which he could learn, adapt, and demonstrate the qualities that made humans unique. Kane leaned back and looked at her. "I think I understand now," he said softly. "You're not holding me here to stop me. You're holding me here because you believe humans can do more than we know." He had faced countless challenges in his life, but none had tested his mind, his patience, and his creativity like this. And yet, he also felt a weight of responsibility. If humans truly were as extraordinary as Ilara believed, then the future of his species depended on more than luck. It depended on courage, ingenuity, and the ability to rise when the universe demanded it. As Kane lay down that night, staring at the alien constellations above, he understood one thing clearly. He was not just surviving. He was learning. He was proving the strength of humanity, step by step, under the watchful eyes of an immortal being who believed in him. And for the first time in his life, he realized that humans were capable of far more than anyone had ever imagined. Rylan Kane woke to the gentle hum of Erendor 9 once more, but today felt different. The air was sharper, the light brighter, and for the first time he sensed a shift in the rhythm of the planet. He had spent weeks navigating its strange terrain, collecting samples, and learning to anticipate its subtle tests. Each day had been a challenge, each task designed to push him beyond what he thought possible. But now, Kane felt a stirring of understanding deep inside him. He realized that he wasn't just surviving, he was learning, adapting, and growing in ways he could not have imagined. Ilara appeared as he stepped from the hovercraft, her presence as calm and powerful as ever. Her eyes, glowing softly in the early light, held a weight that Kane had never seen before. There was no menace in her gaze, only observation and something more, a kind of expectation. "Today you will see why you are here," she said, her voice gentle yet commanding. "It is time you understand the purpose of this trial. You are unpredictable, inventive, and capable of courage that even civilizations older than your own cannot match. I have observed countless species over centuries, and most destroy themselves out of fear, pride, or stagnation. But humans have something rare. Humans survive not because they are strong or fast, but because they think. They adapt. They persevere when others would give up. They create solutions when all logic suggests there are none. That is why you are here, not as a prisoner, but as an observer, as a representative of your species. You carry the spark of potential that could change the fate of civilizations." He had known humans were resourceful, that they had survived wars, natural disasters, and even extinction-level events. But to hear it from an immortal being who had seen the rise and fall of countless species, it was humbling and astonishing at the same time. "So, you've been watching humanity?" Kane asked. "All this time?" "But long enough to see the patterns. Your species is young, but your potential is vast. That is why I cannot let you leave yet. I need to see if you truly understand the responsibility of that potential." It was a test of insight, of vision, of understanding the broader consequences of human ingenuity. He had been learning to navigate a world designed to challenge him physically and mentally, but now he realized he was being tested morally and philosophically as well. "Show me, then," Kane said, determination hardening in his chest. "Show me what I'm supposed to understand." She led him to a wide valley filled with crystalline structures that pulsed faintly with light. "These are remnants of civilizations that failed," she explained. "Each one was once alive, vibrant, and full of potential, but each fell because its people lacked understanding, foresight, or courage. They were powerful, advanced, and intelligent, but they failed to survive their own weaknesses. You must see the difference." It was overwhelming, the sheer scale of civilizations rising and falling. "These civilizations all failed," Kane said quietly, "because of themselves. That is why you are here." And he realized something profound. Humans were flawed, yes, but those flaws were tempered by creativity, empathy, and resilience. They could endure what others could not. They could rise when others fell. Ilara watched him closely. "Do you understand now? This is why I cannot let you leave, not because I wish to trap you, but because you must see the truth. Your species carries a responsibility unlike any other, and the choices you make today will shape the future of countless generations." He was a representative of humanity, a witness to their potential, and a student of their strengths and weaknesses. The trials he had faced were not just physical, they were lessons in insight, resilience, and vision. "Then what do I do?" he asked. "How do I prove that humans are worthy?" "By facing challenges without relying solely on strength or technology. By making decisions that reflect your species' best qualities. And above all, by understanding that survival is not just about you. It is about everyone who follows and about the legacy your species leaves behind." He had survived storms, shifting terrain, and the subtle manipulations of the planet itself. But this was different. This was not about endurance. It was about insight, creativity, and moral courage. And for the first time, he realized that humans were capable of greatness far beyond what they themselves could imagine. Ilara led him further into the valley, to a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with light like a heartbeat. "This is the test," she said. "Inside, you will face challenges designed to measure the qualities I have described. Not your strength, not your speed, but your courage, your ingenuity, and your moral resolve. You will face situations that seem impossible, decisions that carry weight beyond your understanding. And through them, you will see what humans are truly capable of." The valley disappeared, replaced by a series of scenes, each depicting a different challenge. Some were simulations of natural disasters, others of technological crises, and some even involved moral dilemmas where the lives of countless beings hung in the balance. He realized immediately that these were not simple tests. They required quick thinking, strategic planning, and ethical judgment. Each scenario challenged him to balance risk and reward, ingenuity and morality. And with each challenge he completed, he felt a growing confidence, not in himself alone, but in the human capacity to adapt, survive, and innovate. Hours, or perhaps days, passed within the crystalline simulation. Kane could not tell the difference, but he felt his understanding of human potential expanding with each decision. He discovered solutions that were creative, compassionate, and effective. He realized that humans were capable of rising to challenges that even the oldest civilizations could not overcome. Finally, the simulation ended. Kane found himself back in the valley, standing before Ilara. She watched him with quiet satisfaction. "You see now," she said, "the strength of humans is not in their power or their technology, but in their ability to think, to adapt, and to endure. That is why I brought you here, that is why I have guided you, and that is why you are important." He had faced trials that tested every aspect of his being, and he had succeeded, not because he was extraordinary alone, but because he represented a species that was capable of greatness. "You're saying humans can survive," Kane said quietly, "even against forces that seem impossible. Your species has the potential to thrive where others have fallen, and now you understand why you cannot leave yet. You are not just a witness, you are a guide for what humanity can achieve." But more importantly, he had seen the responsibility that came with that potential. Survival was not enough. Humans had the ability to rise, to innovate, and to shape the future of civilizations yet to come. As the sun rose over the valley, casting the crystalline structures in a brilliant light, Kane felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just a surveyor, no longer just a survivor. He was a representative of humanity, a witness to its potential, and a student of its greatest qualities. And he understood, finally, why Elara had brought him here, not to trap him, but to show him the truth. Humans were extraordinary. And now, Kane was ready to embrace what that truly meant. Ryland Kane stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a vast, shimmering canyon that stretched farther than his eyes could see. The light of Urindor 9 twin suns reflected off crystalline formations embedded in the canyon walls, casting rainbows across the air. Kane could feel the subtle hum of the planet beneath him, like a heartbeat echoing in every step, reminding him that this world was alive and aware. Today felt different, charged with expectation, as if the very air anticipated something monumental. Elara appeared beside him, her presence as calm and commanding as ever. She had guided him patiently through countless challenges, testing his resilience, ingenuity, and understanding of human potential. But now her expression was serious, almost urgent. "Today," she said, her voice soft but firm, "you will face the greatest challenge yet. It is time to prove not just your strength, but the strength of humanity." He had already faced the planet's subtle tests, the simulated trials, and countless physical obstacles. Yet he felt a tremor of uncertainty. What could be greater than what he had already endured? "You are ready," Elara said, reading the hesitation in his eyes. "But this challenge will test everything you have learned. You will face forces that seem impossible to overcome. You will have to rely on courage, creativity, and unity." Towers of crystal erupted from the ground, strange energy currents surged through the air, and massive shadows loomed on the horizon. Kane realized instantly, this was no ordinary test. It was a confrontation designed to push him, to force him to demonstrate the full potential of human ingenuity and spirit. From the distance, figures emerged, towering alien forms with glimmering armor, moving with precision and intent. They were not hostile in a conventional sense, but they represented obstacles that Kane could not simply overpower. These beings were intelligent, adaptive, and relentless, testing every move he made. Kane's heart pounded, but he did not panic. He had learned to think under pressure, to observe patterns, and to adapt. Using his environment, he began to strategize. He scanned the crystalline towers, noting energy flows and weaknesses. The alien figures moved predictably, responding to his initial tests. Kane realized that brute force would not win this battle. He needed strategy, creativity, and courage. He leapt across a fissure, landing on a crystal spire, and used its reflective surface to redirect a surge of energy toward a nearby tower. The tower collapsed in a controlled cascade, creating a bridge to the next platform. Kane's movements were precise, calculated, and inventive. He was not just surviving, he was shaping the battlefield itself, using his environment as a tool. The alien forms adapted, learning from his tactics, but Kane adapted faster. He remembered Elara's lessons. Humans survive because they think, because they adapt, and because they persevere. He was a human, representing the collective ingenuity of his species, and he would not fail. Hours, or perhaps minutes, time seemed to stretch, passed in a blur of movement, energy, and quick decisions. Kane faced challenges that required more than physical skill. He was forced to make moral choices, redirect energy to save collapsing structures that held other forms of life, balance risk to protect his own path, and make split-second judgments that would affect outcomes beyond his understanding. Through it all, Kane felt a surge of pride. He was using every skill he possessed, every lesson he had learned on Urindor 9, to navigate a situation that seemed impossible. He was not alone in spirit. He carried the creativity, courage, and resilience of all humanity. Each action he took reflected not just his own ingenuity, but the potential of his species to rise above challenges, to adapt, and to survive. As he reached the center of the arena, a massive crystalline structure pulsed with energy. From within it, a figure emerged, larger than any Kane had faced, radiant with power and exuding authority. Kane realized that this was the ultimate challenge, a being that tested not just his mind and body, but his spirit. The figure spoke without words, its presence communicating intent, awareness, and challenge simultaneously. Kane understood instinctively. This was not an enemy to defeat by force, but a force to overcome with ingenuity, courage, and wisdom. Every move he made would be a reflection of human potential, every decision a testament to the qualities that made his species unique. Kane assessed the arena quickly. Energy currents surged from the central figure, threatening to overwhelm him. Towers shifted, crystals cracked, and the alien forms that had tested him earlier now moved with precision, coordinating to challenge him at every step. Kane's mind raced. He remembered Elara's words, humans are resilient because they adapt, because they think, because they persevere. He began to move with purpose, using the environment in ways that no alien force could anticipate. He redirected energy flows, created protective barriers from the crystalline spires, and manipulated the terrain to gain strategic advantage. The alien forms adapted, but Kane adapted faster. He anticipated their movements, using logic and creativity to turn obstacles into opportunities. And then came the moral test. A section of the arena collapsed, threatening to crush a smaller cluster of alien forms that were part of the simulation. Kane hesitated, knowing that redirecting energy to save them would put him at greater risk. But he acted instinctively, using his knowledge of the environment to stabilize the collapse, protecting the lives of those forms while maintaining his own path. Elara's presence was a calm force in the chaos. She did not intervene, but Kane could feel her observation, her silent approval, and her expectation. He realized that she had designed this trial not just to test skill, but to measure the qualities that made humans extraordinary: courage, creativity, resilience, and moral strength. Finally, Kane reached the central crystalline structure. The massive figure within regarded him silently. Kane raised his hands, not in fear, but in readiness. He understood instinctively what needed to be done. Using the knowledge he had gained, the tools he had created, and the ingenuity of his species, he manipulated the energy flows, redirected the currents, and created a resonance within the crystal that neutralized the figure's challenge. The arena stilled, the energy pulsed in harmony, and Kane felt a surge of accomplishment unlike anything he had experienced. Elara appeared beside him, her expression radiant. "You have done it," she said. "You have proven what I hoped to see. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, not because they are the strongest or the fastest, but because they endure, adapt, and rise to challenges that seem impossible." He had faced the ultimate challenge, one designed to test every skill, every instinct, and every quality that made humans remarkable. And he had succeeded, not alone, but as a representative of his species, demonstrating ingenuity, courage, and moral strength under pressure. "You understand now," Elara continued, "why I could not let you leave before. I needed to see the spark of your species, to witness its resilience and creativity firsthand. Humans survive not because of power or technology alone, but because they think, adapt, and persevere when others would fall." And through it all, he had discovered the truth. Humans were extraordinary, capable of rising to challenges that no other species could endure. As the arena dissolved, returning them to the canyon cliff, Kane looked out over the vast landscape of Erendor 9. The twin suns shone brightly, casting light across the crystalline formations. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, a recognition of human potential, and a commitment to carry that understanding forward. "You have proven yourself," Elara said softly. "And now you are ready to carry the truth back to your people. Humans have the capacity to thrive where others have failed, but that potential carries responsibility. You must lead, inspire, and guide, for the future depends on it." He understood the responsibility that lay before him, the duty to share what he had learned, and the need to inspire others to rise to their own potential. "I understand," Kane said, his voice steady. "I will carry this forward. I will ensure that humans rise, not just survive. Humanity's story is not yet finished. You have proven that it will endure, adapt, and thrive, and now it is time for the next step." He had faced the ultimate challenge, demonstrated the extraordinary qualities of his species, and discovered the strength, creativity, and resilience that made humans capable of greatness. As he prepared to return to Earth, he understood one truth clearly: humans were remarkable. Not because of their technology, power, or numbers, but because they endured, adapted, and rose to challenges that would have crushed others. And that realization, glowing brightly in his heart, was the greatest victory of all.